2009, I am interviewing Richard O. Bensh at 38 Brown Forge Road in Gaylordsville, Connecticut. My name is Rebecca Whiting, and also present is his wife, and I'm sorry... Rosemary Bensh. Okay. Mr. Bensh, if you could give me your date of birth, please.
December 15, 1920.
Okay. And you were a soldier in World War II, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What branch of the service were you in?
Ordnance.
Ordnance. And what does that do, typically?
The supplies for the troops. Trucks, tanks.
Ammunition, everything.
Really, actually everything.
Okay.
Except foods.
Okay, so weaponry and ammunition.
All weapons, yes, cannons, revolvers, pistols.
Mine.
Trucks, tanks, motorcycles.
Okay. What was your rank? And where did you...
Master Sergeant.
Master Sergeant. And you served where?
France.
France.
You were a lieutenant.
Well, now, yeah, I ended up a lieutenant, yes. And then I got into, I became a major.
So that was...
But that was after the war.
Oh, okay. All right, fine.
But during the war, I was a Master Sergeant and a lieutenant.
Okay. And so what type of work did you actually perform?
I was a chief clerk of the Ordnance Depot. And we were 5th Echelon Depot, which was the last major supply support area.
Okay. Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
You enlisted. And where were you living at the time that you enlisted?
In Queens.
New York.
New York.
Okay. Why did you decide to join?
Well, war was declared and I was ready. Let's put it that way. The circumstances behind it, there was an article in the newspaper by some company, I don't remember which one, that said that we need people who are already trained because we don't have the time to train everybody. So they asked for volunteers to the different elements that the military would need to get the war started, so to speak. So for that they offered a rank up to sergeant for the talent that they needed. They offered only to company officers that that they offered a commission, a lieutenant. That was the highest rank you could get in the enlistment. After that, you had to go through basic training and schooling to do it the military way.
And did you ever take basic training?
Oh yes, yes, everybody did. But when I went in, I was a recruit. And then I got my sergeant stripes after I passed basic training. And then I got higher sergeant stripes as I went through their training program to know the Army way of doing things, which is the right way to do it, really.
Okay. Do you recall the first days of your service? Like when you originally just went in, the newness of it all?
Oh yeah, well,
What branch did you choose? I'm sorry.
Ordnance.
Ordnance of, was that for the Army or?
It's Army, yes.
Army.
Actually, my experience up to that point was the service to
Automotive.
automotive parts, which is what I went into. It was a parts depot where all the truck parts, tank parts, other parts were stored. So it was quite a good experience. And I was well equipped.
Were you married when you enlisted?
Yes. As a matter of fact, one week after I went active duty, my son was born, my first son.
Wow, that's great. Do you remember any of your boot camp instructors or higher officers?
Oh, yes.
Lieutenant, what's his name?
Webb, you mean?
I don't know, you should know him.
No.
Did you work with someone in particular that you might recall?
The one that lived in Massachusetts, what's his name?
Webb.
Webb?
Herb
Yeah.
Webb.
Yeah.
Herb Webb, yeah.
He was a lieutenant.
He was a lieutenant.
But before he went into the service, like me, he worked for Signode strapping. So he had some experience. And that's what ordnance is all about. It's you have to move supplies. You have to have carpenters. You had to waterproof, and seal, and preserve everything so that they could reach their destination
But
in good shape.
You didn't do that.
Huh?
You didn't do that.
Yes, I did.
You didn't, I said.
What do you mean I didn't?
Well, you didn't actually do the work.
You delegated it or
No,
coordinated
I
it?
was a master sergeant, so
Okay.
I saw to it that it got done.
He went from sergeant to staff sergeant to master sergeant and then to lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
That's
So he
great.
went up in the ranks, that's what he means.
Did you actually see any combat?
Not directly, no.
But you were involved in the Battle of Normandy, correct?
Oh, yes.
And you received a medal there. Could you just pick that up, please, for me? And I'll just zoom in a little. And could you tell me something about that medal, please?
Well, this was awarded for on the 60th anniversary of the Battle of Normandy, and it was pretty hectic.
France, I think he gets very emotional.
I can understand that.
Okay.
You can take your time.
Memories.
It's okay. Take your time. That's
You
fine.
okay? Come on, Richie. You better ask him a couple of questions.
Did you see any acts of heroism right within your company or in just observations of other soldiers and other troops?
No, not really. We were rear echelon people, so we didn't see too much action. We had a job to do and we did it. That was the important part.
That's right. And other than this wonderful medal here from the government of France, were you awarded any other medals or citations?
Yes.
Could you name a couple of those,
Oh,
or
boy.
one maybe?
Oh, I can't remember it, very honestly.
Okay, that's fine. So you were never taken prisoner of war
No.
or anything like that? Okay. Did you ever see anyone injured?
No, not really. We had just one incident, and it had nothing to do with me, but fellows or some soldiers were coming back from the front lines, and we lived in an area that was built for the civilians of the Renault factory. And they built this whole town called the Pink City. And the buildings were all pink, very pretty. And the enlisted men were in, I'd say, a 5 or 6 story hotel-like building. And the offices of the company were in small bungalows. So I was being a sergeant, was in one of the small bungalows. And the lost my train of thought.
The accommodations. He was talking about the Pink City and the accommodations and.
The accommodations, yes, in Pink City.
And did you observe other soldiers coming back from combat?
Oh, that's right. They were coming. This group was coming back. The war was over, and this guy.
Come on, dude. It's a long time ago.
He was carrying
Someone else?
you see these Rambo pictures, you know, the guy with a big pile of bullets in a
Right.
for a machine gun,
Mm-hmm.
and he had it over his. The war's over.
So this was after they.
Yeah, he was going home, and they just stopped at our place for a day. That's all. And he was walking with the bullets, machine gun bullets, and they started banging around, and one hit another one, and they went off, and it just cut him to pieces.
Oh my. Oh, it's horrible. Wow.
Didn't tell me that.
I'm not thinking.
Okay. Well, let's move to a little less severe subject. How did you stay in touch with Rosemary during that time?
Letters. That was the only way you could do.
Letters.
Yeah, I was over there 2 years.
And how often did you receive a letter from her?
Oh, quite often. Right?
Yeah. Before he went overseas, I went to live with him, with my son. So
Oh.
I traveled from a couple of different states with him.
Oh, okay. While you were in France, what was the food like for you?
Oh, good. Yeah, well, you couldn't really go out and buy food because they didn't have it either. So, but the Army took good care of us.
Did you see any entertainers like a USO show? Is that what they
Yes.
call that?
Yeah,
Yes.
GSO.
In England, I saw Bob Hope.
Francis Langford.
Francis Langford, yes, that was another one. Mostly in England, though, because when we got into France, I was at the Renault factory in France. That's where we were stationed. And when we got there, from when we first arrived in France, it had been bombed. So we spent weeks putting the buildings back together so that we could set up shop. Because while I was supply, our company had mechanics for tanks. We had mechanics for repairing the pistols and the rifles and all the other different ordnance items. So it was a secure area. It was a jumping off place for Patton, where he got all of his supplies.
Impressive. Did you go back to school after the war? Did you work? What did you do?
No, I had to go to work.
And you did what for a job?
Auto supplies.
Auto supplies. So you stayed basically in the same field.
I stayed in the same field, right.
Well, then he had his own company.
Okay.
Well, I was after the war, yes.
Did you get any education through the GI Bill or use that at all?
I didn't use it.
Okay. And any of your friends from the military, did you continue those friendships at all?
Oh, yes, a lot of them.
Okay.
Many, many of them.
And do you belong to a veterans organization?
Yes. VFW. And what is the other one?
I don't know, Dick. VFW is the one that I know of. What else?
American Legion.
American Legion.
Okay. So you do attend reunions, or
Yes.
you do? How did your military experience influence your thinking and your opinion about war today? What do you think about what's going on in Afghanistan and Iraq?
It's a necessary evil, unfortunately. But,
So you think we should be occupying?
well, now you're getting into politics. That everybody has a different opinion, but I think you have to stand up for what you want. And we did, and I'm glad we did, because, thank God, we're free.
It's the truth. Is there anything in this interview that you would like to add that was important and impacting to you throughout your career in the military?
Well, my military experience gave me the start to organize a company of my own, which treated me very well financially, and made all of this possible. I started a business selling military parts to foreign governments and the U.S. government, because a lot of items were declared surplus by the government when the Army ceased operations, and people bought trucks and tanks and what have you. They needed parts to fix them, to keep them running, and the government had to supply them, either make them or buy them on the open market. You know, for a couple of years, no cars were manufactured, so there was a lot of interchange between the current production and the old type of materials.
And what period of time would that have been about?
1944, 45,
Okay.
and way up, actually. I did very well because I had collected a good library of military manuals while I was in the service and after I got out of the service. Things changed, the numbering system changed, and if you kept the old system records, you could operate, but that was the biggest problem. The government kept changing the system because they started running out of numbers. It's like the telephones today.
Amazing.
So to interpret all of those numbers and cross-reference them to today's numbers was a technique that I developed for myself and was able to supply people with parts that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to use. It was very educational to me and very helpful to a lot of people. I made a lot of millionaires.
That's great. Well, I'm going to conclude this interview then.
Okay.
And I think this is enough because we have quite a bit on your website, your webpage. So thank you very much, Mr. Bensh.
Thank you.